Hey, early morning, November the 26th, 2025, the day before Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday morning, and it's 5:35 in the morning. Thought well, I did a show last night, but you don't know it yet because I've been trying to upload it to YouTube all night. I don't know what's going on with the internet connection or what, but it's at 72%, and it's been going all night, man. But anyway, today, Mr. Algorithm, wanting to know in the first minute what the show's about, I'm going to be looking at some Vampirella. Not the modern Vampirella, that horrible comic that comes out today that's badly drawn, that has shares nothing in common with the wonderful Warren magazine of my childhood and youth. In fact, she is in this new comic they put out today. It's not put out by the same people that put out the real Vampirella. It's man, she has pointy ears, man. That's pointy little elf ears. No, I'm plugging you guys in. Sorry. Found these in the attic. I gotta hang it up because it's Christmas time, man. Gotta get into the Yuletide spirit. So let me do that. Where can I put this? I'll find a spot. And the kitten will destroy it.
That's up there. Well, that's where the Aryans come from. And out of Tartarus, as they say that they escaped from, and in the mythologies...
I'll put it on the head of the shot.
And these are the same ones that you mentioned, the Mitanni dynasty. It's the Aryan Marianu that start the Mitanni dynasty, which is one of the powerful dynasties of Nephilim in the...
Do you see that, man? You gotta see this. It's like something out of A Christmas Carol, right? You see that? So I'm very proud of my inferior decorating skills, man. Yes, well, it's Christmas, and we got to get in the Thanksgiving spirit. When I was a bachelor, I used to like to go to Boston Market. And they would give you every single thing that other people spent hours and days cooking. And I would eat it, and then I would feel like, well, I did Thanksgiving. And then I tried that, I think, the first year I was married, going to Boston Market. And she says, I love Boston Market all year long, except I hate their Thanksgiving. I said, what do you mean? It was delicious. But she says, I can do it myself. So, anyway, so we spent a couple hours in the supermarket on Saturday. It was Saturday, yeah, because I remember the comic book memory show was on while I was in the supermarket. My feet killing me because I'm old and fat. I had every intention of spending the summer losing weight. I was talking to my friends Kevin Johnson, owner of Gotham City Comics, and Meyer Greenblatt, probably around May, right? And saying, I'm going to lose weight this summer. Every time I do a video, I'm going to say how much I weigh at the beginning of the video. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do it on video in between opening comics. I'm going to do it. And it's going to be incredible. And the weight loss and the transformation. And then I wound up not doing it. Meyer did it all summer. He was doing the workout videos, getting fit at 60. And Kevin was doing it secretly without really talking much about it. He watches this guy. He told me the name of this guy on YouTube. I'm going to check him out. That's taught him how to eat. And so he eats one meal a day. He eats this wonderful big breakfast. He was describing last night on the phone with me what he eats. And then he doesn't eat any other meals the rest of the day. And after he closes up his shop, he goes home and goes to sleep. So he's not tempted to eat dinner. This guy has lost 100 pounds or more than. He doesn't weigh himself because that's part of, I guess, his psychological trick, because if you weigh yourself, you get discouraged. But he doesn't weigh himself. He just knows he's losing weight because the clothes start to not fit, I guess. And so he knows over 100 pounds over the summer, since June. I can't lose 100 pounds because then I'd be 130 pounds. I should be about 160. Right now, I think I was in the 230 range when I went to the doctor the other week. I need to lose about 70 pounds. Yeah, so I need And he says he only spends $28 on food per week. So I always said the ultimate diet plan is to just not eat because, you know, if you don't eat, you get skinny. I've seen that in history books. Not that sometimes that's a good thing, but I know I need to lose weight. A lot of these problems, my plantar fasciitis, my blood pressure, all of that will probably be cured. I don't have to get on these pills, and you know, and then I don't have to go to the doctor every 6 months. It's just always just like, why can't I just go yearly, doctor? Why do I have to keep coming back? My insurance doesn't cover these 6 months. I don't know. You don't want to hear about this bullshit. You want to see Vampirella magazines.
Kind of spread out from the kingdom of Mitanni and the Holy Land, Israel, or Canaan at the time, but what became
yes,
sort of the
it's Callie the cat, also known as Meowie Wowie. Here,
at that time, and Mitanni.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Oh, let's get a little more light. It's really cold out there. It's freezing. There's a real strong wind blowing. It's not it ain't a fit morning out for man nor beast out there.
Ruling places in the Holy Land. In fact, one of the two rulers of the area around Mount Hermon that we know from the Egyptian Amarna letters had a Hurrian name, and it's been argued that the king of...
I always loved Vampirella. First Vampirella I bought was like 72, maybe early 73. My mom let me, I'll show you the copy when I get to it. My mom would always, I always loved monster magazines, and I would come up, since I was 5, I'd come up to Mom, can I buy this? The Famous Monsters. And she'd flip through it and she'd say, no. You can't buy, I don't know, she said, you can't buy these monster stuff, this stuff, was it 10 or 12? She had some arbitrary age. She thought that it was, she just knew that it wasn't right. I don't know what she thought.
Was the secret dwelling of the Anunnaki.
Maybe she's right. Maybe it is a bunch of Satan stuff, but I sure do love monsters. And her forbidding it from me, she'd flip through. Sometimes she'd approve one, like Monsters Unleashed #2. It was just arbitrary. She let me get some famous monsters. Yep. And then once I got to the age where I could buy them, the stores didn't have them. When we lived in Tacoma, Washington, I never saw famous ones. I saw one once in the PX, and it was all destroyed. Someone had just trashed it and looked like they spilled food and wrinkled it and everything. So I didn't want it, but it was a really great issue with a picture of Mr. Sardonicus on the cover. I later got it, but
presumably this would be after Joshua and the Hebrews took out.
Yeah. And then I got to by the time I got to Arlington, Texas, because we moved a lot. My dad was in the Army. When we lived in Arlington, Texas, all the monster magazines were there. And then they stopped publishing them all right when I was old enough. So I've had this obsession all my life to collect them. And because my mom, she thought she was doing the right thing. Instead, she made me love the stuff more because it was forbidden. And here I am at age 60 still buying them. She never would have dreamed that, or she would have just said, buy them all. Yeah. I mean, I've heard of parents that let their kid get a subscription, like when they're just turning into teenagers, to Playboy, and have it sent to them. And it's just like, well, I guess it's okay that, it's glad he likes girls, whatever. But, it's more than that. That Hugh Hefner had preached a philosophy that was not a good moral philosophy, and he had his the Playboy philosophy column in every issue, where he basically taught hedonism and everything. It wasn't just, girls are pretty. It was more live my lifestyle, which is some people say he was secretly a CIA guy that was trying to bring down America. I don't know why people in our own government want to bring us down, but perhaps they're Nephilim, like Gary Wayne's saying here on this YouTube radio broadcast. Anyway, 10 minutes almost, and you haven't seen a single magazine. Well, this is my box of Vampirella.
I enjoy talking with you, Gary.
And it says there, please wash your hands before you read me and keep me clean. That's always good advice. I remember it was the 1980s, going around to different stores in Dallas trying to find Vampirella and say, do you have Vampirella? And I found, mostly they didn't. I found one guy that had a whole bunch of them. He was trying to charge these astronomical prices, and I said, but look, this is a $5 magazine in the Overstreet Guide, because back then no one bought Vampirella, no one cared about it except me and maybe some other people out there somewhere, and perhaps you. But I remember the store owner. It was a store in Dallas, a little tiny comic store, magazine store. And I remember he had a dad that he may have been the real owner, but it was a son and dad. But the son told me, he said, the Overstreet Guide is the price that they will pay for comics. Those aren't actual prices, because he was saying that Overstreet was corrupt and that they actually wanted to purchase magazines, so they put out false information that the comics were worth that much, and that's what they would pay, and then they would sell for more. Have you ever heard that wild conspiracy theory? He seemed very convinced, or at least he thought that his bullshit would work on me. In his explanation why he was charging, he says, I know people, they're most proud, the possession they're most proud of in the world is their complete Vampirella collection. He's trying to tell me that, people, he was like a used car salesman. I didn't buy his bullshit. It looks like on the top of this box at some point I've written the issues of Vampirella that I need. Some people do it digitally on their phone or on their computer, which would make sense, but I just crudely write it on top of the box, which doesn't help me if I'm out in the wild. I can't, Now, if I took a picture of this lid and stored it on my phone, I guess it would. But when do I ever expect I'm going to see an issue of Vampirella? You never really expect it. Okay, well, looks at the beginning of the box, I've got an issue of Devilina. I guess I put padding at the beginning of the box. Devilina is not Vampirella, but it's an imitation of Vampirella. It's from the Atlas Seaboard comic company that lasted for, I think, less than a year in 1975. Was it late 74? And then, or was it? Yeah, I think it was late 74 or 75. Comic company that was started to run Marvel out of business, out of spite, out of hatred from... It's a long story, you know the story. Here's, I guess this must be the second issue of Devilina. Now, Walmart put out an action figure of Devilina about a year ago, along with a few other of the superheroes from this defunct comic book line, except she was completely... She kind of looked more like the Black Widow. She was completely covered, not So anyway, I think there are only 2 issues of that. I've got that. So okay, here we come with Vampirella. I didn't want this to be the first book in the box, Okay, so it's not in good condition. Well, I remember buying this in Grand Prairie, Texas, and it would have been it probably would have been the 80s.
16th century BC.
Man, I don't know. I think maybe I paid $25 for it. I don't know. I remember it being in worse condition than this. The main problem is the chipping at the corner and up here. It's really not as bad shape as I remember, and there's some folds, But this is the Frank Frazetta painting of Vampirella that's based on the initial sketches drawn by Trina Robbins, the great late underground comics artist. She was like a feminist comics artist from the underground comics movement. But she was a feminist, but she was able to create this costume. She designed it. And, she was a feminist, but she wasn't against, pin-up kind of stuff. She was also really into Wonder Woman, the classic Wonder Woman. In fact, she did a DC limited miniseries where she illustrated Wonder Woman in the more of the classic Golden Age style, and that was a fun, like 4-issue series Trina Robbins did. Here's issue 2. I'm sorry I have them in My Lights. When they invented My Lights in the 80s, I bought My Lights and put everything I prized into My Lights, and they reflect light real bad. And back then they didn't have backing boards. I do need to get backing boards for these books. Okay, that's Vampirella number 2, and you can see the back page since I don't have a board on it. Ooh, Vampirella 3. Now this one's really rough. It looks like the cover is completely detached. That's Von Baudet cover. Look, see, the cover is, that's about as, yeah, I mean, I didn't pay much for this, but the cover is bad. Other than the spine is a real problem, but other than that, the issue doesn't look that bad. Perhaps that could be fixed with some of that mending tissue that Captain Strangelove always talks about. There's a magazine coming out today from a company, not Warren, but it's called Warrant, and they do imitations of these old Warren magazines. Why are you guys crying over there, man?
No.
This is issue 4, and they do a pretty good job of recreating. They have a magazine called Vampirus Carmilla that looks a lot like, like these old magazines. Dark Shadows was on TV still. Marvel had put out the Conan comic book, and now they're promoting the paperbacks. This character had come back in a big way in 1970 from the 1920s, 1930s era, the pulp era. Conan had returned. And issue 5, this cover has been reused on one of those modern Warrant magazines. It's a Frazetta cover. Man, it's light. Anyway, cave, it's basically 1 million years BC kind of painting. And the back cover reprints, this is a hardcover edition of Alex Raymond, Flash Gordon. Let's go into the other room for a moment.
Right? And is that what they're talking about? Is that Nephilim were builders of great underground cities? I'm just speculating and connecting some dots, but it's just
okay. I'll show you what they're advertising. In the 70s, there was a lot of nostalgia. People had gone through the 60s, the horrible Kennedy assassination, which we had the anniversary of that the other day on the 22nd, and Vietnam War, and people were just, older people in their 40s, 50s, 60s were thinking back to their youth and how America used to be, and they wanted that back, so they would, so there was a lot of nostalgia for the 1950s, which started, Sha Na Na played at Woodstock, and at first it confused the hippies. It's like, what is this 50s stuff, mixed in with Jimi Hendrix? And then they were all like, what? And then they all started getting into it. And it's like, oh yeah, that was great music that from just, 10 years ago. And then there was the Grease musical on Broadway, and American Graffiti was a big part of that, and Happy Days and all that, But there's nostalgia for the 50s, but there was also nostalgia from older people for the 30s. And there were a lot of these books that came out, like these kind of books, reprinting and Tarzan, and this collection of Buck Rogers. The Flash Gordon books must be on another shelf. This here, you know, that Vampirella #3 with that rough spine. I've got like a complete set of, well, not complete set. I've got 2 bound copies of Vampirella up to issue 20 that somebody did at some point. This is September 1969 through March 71, issues 1 through 10. Now, I didn't have these bound, so, you know, so, but this is, you know, inside. I think they were slightly trimmed too, which is considered a real sin in the collecting world, but so, yeah, that's what it looks like inside. There's Vampirella #1. So I have these books in a different format too, which is this, and they're all you easily can get reprints of all these, you know, just from Amazon. There's been several reprints of this stuff. Hold on a second here. We got to do something here. I'm going to let you watch this television program for a little bit while I do something. I got to
see if we can perfect the technique of, you know, wrapping Junior's head into a point. Because apparently, this was something I hadn't expected to find, just looking at the history of the prehistoric world.
You ought to listen to this guy, Gary Wayne. This is a lot of fun, I think.
In the ancient Near East,
you may just think I've lost my mind, but it's all right.
Israel,
You wouldn't be the first person.
It was universally practiced. Everybody apparently had a pointy head. At Eridu, where they found the earliest level of the temple, as they excavated that site back in 48, 49, the team led by the Iraqi Ministry of Antiquities found 206 sets of human remains, and all 206 had deformed skulls. And they all date back, they said, to about 5400 BC, somewhere in that range. So again, why were they all doing it?
Exactly. Yeah, they were trying to emulate something that they had seen, and that was the thing. Is
you would think at least that's a possibility. I mean, because this happened for such a long period of time, and they found deformed skulls with human remains all over the ancient Levant, all over the ancient world, from northwestern Iran to southern Turkey to ancient Jericho.
Let me pause, you guys. Okay, let me see if I can find those Flash Gordon books. They're big, oversized books, so where would I put them? They might not. They might be upstairs, actually. Or down. No, they're not downstairs. Oh, they could be over here. That's possible. No. Oh, over here. Maybe in here. Oh, here we go. What you're seeing advertised in that issue of Vampirella were these books, these big coffee table books that reprinted the beautiful Sunday comic strips of this man, Alex Raymond. So, I used to be able to get these at half-price books pretty inexpensively. This one is this is volume 1. Looks like this was on sale. They sold this for $30. Man, I think I got it for less than that. It's from this came out in 1970. This is, I think, a little bit later printing. And they also sold, Scheiße, motherfucker. Sorry, excuse my language. They also sold them in softcover format for cheaper people. The same interiors. And then the Flash Gordon stuff's been reprinted also by Dark Horse. So, you know. I should go through these books. I don't know if you think I should. Tell me down below if you want to look at these, all these books on the shelves. This is, but yeah, Flash Gordon, fantastic. I guess I just have only 3 of these. It's from Nostalgia Press. They did a lot of this, you know. Okay, hold on. So, there was a French comic strip, Barbarella. Of course, you know that. Was it Jean-Pierre Forest or something? I don't forget his name, but that was made into a Jane Fonda movie. And they're doing a remake with Sydney Sweeney, man. That's something to look forward to. Hopefully it'll be done well. Where's my tea? Here it is. Anyway, Forrest J. Ackerman. So why don't we have a character, not Barbarella, but Vampirella, and she'll be from the planet Draculon, where the rivers flow with blood, and they drink blood like water, and then the blood dries up and speak drought, and she has to come to Earth, and that was basically his idea. And then Trina Robbins designed the costume, and Frazetta did that painting. But in the first issues, she's just kind of the host, like Uncle Creepy or Cousin Eerie, and they did some little silly little strip where like, I'm Vampirella, I'm taking a shower, I'm you know. But later on, at a certain point, they start making Vampirella. They have a Vampirella story at the beginning of the magazine. It's a continuing story like some you'd have in Marvel or DC, and she's a superhero. And then it became a magazine about Vampirella, and then you'd have some stories after it, just generic horror stories, usually female-centered horror stories. And but Vampirella, there'd be a Vampirella story at the beginning of the comic.
Yeah, and the Nagas.
And they were done very well. The artist Pepe Gonzalez or Jose Gonzalez was the one that drew her most memorably. But there were a bunch of artists that did a great job doing Vampirella over the years. And she wasn't a villain because she teamed up with this group of adventurers and the descendant of Van Helsing and all this, and they came up with if she started to be overcome with bloodthirst, she'd give herself an injection that would cure that, so she didn't have to drink human blood. But she had super, strength. She was a super heroine, not someone killing people, but a good, allied with good. Yeah, that's basically. No idea what they're doing now in the current Vampirella. James Warren went out of business in the early 80s. Had a bankruptcy sale that I think was done without his willingness, and a lot of the intellectual properties were sold off to different people. The name Creepy, Eerie, and Vampirella, and Famous Monsters, and he's still alive. He always wanted to restart the things, but other people had him. I don't think he was a happy camper, but I'm not sure exactly what happened, if it was because of sales or if he was having some health issues back then. I've got several biographies of him. I just need to go back and read. Once I get my eye surgery, maybe I'll be able to read more for longer periods of time, and I've got tons of books I want to read. We're hoping that... Okay, so here's the next issue, Vampirella number 6. That's a Ken Kelly cover. Yeah, Ken Kelly had some kind of, I don't remember, I don't remember if he was somehow related to Frank Frazetta or if he was an apprentice of Frank Frazetta. But anyway, you know him from these Warren magazines, but he also I think because he was doing these Warren magazine covers that Gene Simmons got him to do several Kiss album covers. The Love Gun one, you know, with all the Kiss girls there, you know, with their feet, and then the one where they're all coming heroically over a mountain. That's Destroyer, yeah. Okay, here's number 7, another Frazetta cover. She is wearing clothing. It just, from a distance, you can't tell that. So this would be a hard magazine for me at age 7 or 6 to come up and, can I buy this, Mom? And yeah, that would be a no. But the first one she did let me buy, it's surprising the content in it that she must not have seen when she flipped through it. Okay, I think here is where, I believe it's with this issue 8, that Vampirella becomes a serious adventure strip, and she's not just a host of stories. There's the Flash Gordon book again. Issue 8. This one, 9, has a tremendous Wally Wood story. This one here, really good. It's been reprinted a million times. Vampirella 10, I remember seeing this one on the newsstand, so I would have been really young. March 71, I'd be turning 6. Yeah, I think. Sesame Street, and then I would be seeing this on the newsstand. This is Vampirella number 11. Okay, selling you these fabulous 1971 yearbook collector's editions. But this is interesting. It's a comic books for sale ad, not something you normally see in Warren. Who's it from? Oh, Howard Rogowski. He was a major comic dealer. He was in Flushing, New York. For a sale from 1934 to 1959, 50,000 comic books. Then in big print, Playboy, 1953 to 69. Howard Rogowski's ads in the color comics wouldn't have emphasized Playboy. In fact, I don't think they would have even mentioned it. But since it's on a magazine that looks like this, I guess you can. Complete runs of DC, Marvel, Gold Key, many other publishers. Wow. Send 25 cents for a complete list. And that tells you what the complete list. Now, there was an interview with Howard Rogowski in the Comics Journal in the 80s, probably, maybe it was early 90s. I've got it somewhere. But they were kidding him, and they said his big thing was he considered, if someone had put tape on a comic book or a magazine, he didn't consider it to be a defect. And they were kidding him on that because that was his philosophy back when he was running his business. Tape was not considered a defect. I guess he thought it was making it better. It was, you know, like if I put tape on that Vampirella number 3, then I wouldn't have to worry about opening it. The cover would stay there while I read through it. The problem is that after a few years, the tape turns, depends on what type of tape it is, turns brown and falls off and leaves you with this acid, sticky acid. But maybe there's some archival tape, because it takes away from the value of the book. But it just seems like if you've got tape that will not damage the book, and you've got a spine in that condition, it just seems like maybe you should put it on there. But, you know, don't listen to me. The complete list includes Big Little Books, 1934 to 1947. That's something people don't collect anymore. Sunday newspaper comic pages, Flash Gordon, Tarzan, Buck Rogers, etc., 1933 to 1963. Horror and science fiction mags. Pulp, Stock Savage, Shadow, etc., 1934 to 48. Movie serial books, Buck Rogers, Dick Tracy, etc. Hardcover books, back issues of Famous Monsters, Screen Thrills, Wildest Westerns, Spacemen, ECs, etc. Mad Magazine, issues 1 through 127. 8x10 serial albums, Flash Gordon, Spy Smasher, Dracula, etc. 8x10 photos, Star Trek, Superman, the TV Avengers, Batman, etc. Original artwork. He has to call them the TV Avengers, because otherwise, in a comic magazine, you're going to think they're talking about the Marvel Avengers instead of the cool British TV show. That's issue 12. Oh, that was issue 11. I don't know if I'm going to get finished with this. I got to get to work here shortly. The Emperor 12.
Yams and TMX of the world, they're all talking about the same.
13 from September of 1971. Again with the Conan ad and Frank Frazetta, anti-smoking public service little strip. Wonderful artwork on that. Somewhere out there, someone owns that original artwork. Oh, I should mention this. Of course, you've heard this because every normal person that you know, I was talking to Kevin. I said, man, there's sure a lot of publicity about this action. No, it's Superman #1 that went up to auction at Heritage Auction House in Dallas. And he said, yeah, every normal person I know has been sending me, links to it. Because Superman #1 that someone found in an attic, and they had it graded at 9.0, which is almost perfect. It looks like a brand new comic. Superman #1. And so it sold for like over 9 million. So it broke a record. And the main thing is people are just amazed at the condition it was in. Apparently somebody's grandmother was always saying, we've got a treasure trove of comic books up in the attic. And everyone just, she'd say it at Thanksgiving dinner. Everyone would just ignore her, say, yeah. They didn't care, normal people. And then they later, when she passed away, they look at the comics and holy smoke. My wife's calling. I better go see what she's up to. Hold on. All right. She's not feeling well. She bought these big water bottles that's supposed to be real healthy water. And these big green bottles, this tall, glass bottles. And she said, do you mind if I drink that? And you can buy another. I said, I haven't tried it yet. But I said, she was wanting to know if I wanted to take that to work. I said, I can't take that to work. It looks like I'm drinking a bottle of booze. Even this looks a little bit suspicious, this tea. Especially when she said it was funny when you had there's a big version of this bottle. And I was drinking it during one of my shows here on YouTube. And she said it looked like you were drinking Jack Daniels or something like that. But no, trust me, I am not a drinker, very rarely. This is no sugar, unsweetened pure leaf tea. I'm mainly drinking it for the caffeine. I'm trying to avoid soft drinks, which are called soda here in this part of the country, or are they called pop? I've heard them called, it's a regional thing. Some people call them soda pops. Some parts of the country, they just call them all Cokes. Coke company doesn't like that. Because if Coke becomes a generic term in the vernacular, they could lose their copyright over decades. So I remember when I was in school, they sent a lesson plan to the teachers to teach kids about Coke as a brand name, that should be capitalized and it's not a generic word for all the soft drinks. Okay, anyway, I don't know what I showed you. Did I show you Vampirella 14? Probably this is an ad for the Aurora torture chamber kits, which they were called monster scenes, I believe, but I always call them the torture chamber kits. I remember going into Dick's Hobby Shop in San Antonio and seeing a display of these all built up with blood painted on them, and it was just kind of amazing that they were selling. Oh no, my wife's calling again. I better go see what she's up to. I'll be back. Oh my gosh, it's hard to get up.
Basically, the whole thing about the coming race and the whole, I guess, theosophical beliefs and stuff, like Blavatsky and Crowley and all them, was that they believe that there is a race inside the earth that is going to come back onto the earth, and that they have a master, and that's how they refer to him. They refer to him as the master, that he will come back and that he will rule over the earth.
Yes, yeah, and they're wanting to have that new Atlantis, that kingdom that was reigning in the antediluvian epoch. That's why Francis Bacon, in his book, The New Atlantis, called it the New Atlantis for the end time, and it'll have the mystical religions with the ruling bloodlines of the Nephilim, or a new Nephilim, because they're always trying to create new Nephilim, and the old gods. And then coming out of the the abyss are the fallen angels and these scorpion-like little beasts, right? And what's interesting about those scorpion beasts, again, if you understand what's going on in prehistory, you have some documentation, and particularly in a couple of old Mesopotamian documents about these scorpion gods, and one is the Enuma Elish as one example, and the other one was I think it's out of the it's Duvar tablets that's Smith had discovered, and what's talking about is these scorpion beasts, and they were locusts, and they had the body of a scorpion. I'll give a description. They looked like horses prepared for battle, just as it's talking about in Revelation. And so they had they're known as a crab buamalu or Gerta bilu. Two different names, different languages, basically what's coming out of, and also part of the Epic of Gilgamesh as well.
See, I don't record this on a real camera. I'm using my phone. So I can't answer when she calls. She was wanting to know, I guess she was writing, and she wanted to, she was saying, if you're talking about the word pal, as in palled around, how do you spell it? I said, well, with two L's. I've never written it in my life, because if you put one L, it's paled, like Javelina, paled in comparison to Vampirella. It's like you have to have two L's. So that's why I went all the way upstairs to spell palled. I palled around. Okay, so let me show you some here. It's helping me get better with my foot problem, although it's not cured. I'm not walking around like Frankenstein and going ah. If every step I'm going it's probably like I just need a Frankenstein mask and I'd have the whole act down. These shoes. This is
so again, you get this correlation that is coming together about what the end time is going to look like.
It's a Hoka, Hoka,
out of prehistory,
and
is going to burst onto the world stage. I
guess I'm wearing a brown shirt, so this will match. So anyway, it really helps if you've got problems with your feet. And then my wife also got me this one that's, I thought it was dark. Well, I don't know if you can see, it's actually green. But you have to see it in the light to really, like looking at the camera, it doesn't look green. Maybe it looks green on your monitor or TV, whatever, but it's green. And this goes better if you're wearing like a dark colored shirt. So I've got two pairs of these shoes. Charlton 66 on the phone told me about them, and I'm so glad because it's really helped me. He's going to send me, he's sending me some cool comics that he's acquired. But one of them has made it impossible because it's the facsimile of More Fun Comics, which is gigantic, like bigger than, I guess it must be the size of a National Enquirer. It's bigger than a Treasury edition from the 70s. So, it's like, he says, I'm just trying to find a box where I, don't have to fold that. It's like, so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a cool thing. It's one of those things keeping me going. I hear that people in the military are being told, well, no, you can't take leave now. I know it's Thanksgiving and everything, but there's a rumor that things are starting to go hot with Venezuela and possibly Mexico because of the drug cartels, whatever. But there's another reason on Venezuela that probably not supposed to talk about on YouTube. At least you used to not be able to talk about on YouTube. I mean, the 2020 election. Yeah, it seemed a little suspicious. I don't know. I think you can think what you want, but it was doesn't feel good to live in a country where an election is thrown, although that possibly that's happened often in our history. I think there were a bunch of dead people that voted for John F. Kennedy. Of course, John F. Kennedy, I think, was a good president and was and in the final analysis was very, well spoken. It was a good part of history until they decided to take him out, but not to lunch. Yeah, and Biden was never president. I mean, he wasn't the one running the show. He didn't make a decision in the entire 4 years he was in there. He was just there, and just weekend at Bernie's. But apparently, all the fraud, well, I don't think you're supposed to say that word on YouTube, was run out of Venezuela. That's where they had they were doing everything from. That's where the headquarters to steal elections here and in other countries was run out of there. So apparently, from what I hear from the scholarly people I listen to on YouTube, that's all about to come out about what really happened, and people are going to be but we'll see. See what happens. Probably nothing. I've been hearing for years that they were going to do something about that, but ow, Callie, man, this little cat. This cat has sharp claws. Man, you're getting heavy. Man, she once was a little bitty kitten, man. You must weigh about 90 pounds now. You weigh more than I do. Yes, indeed. Okay, we're moving on, but I get nervous, man, about work. I don't know what time it is now. What time is it?
Yeah, exactly. And
it's 6:33. I still have an hour before I need to leave. I could at least get through this box of Amparellas, I think. Okay. Oh, I remember this cover. We're getting into my second grade year. And these are the ones I would see at that bookstore that we went to very often in Hampton, Virginia. This is issue 15 from January of 72. No, I wouldn't have been in Virginia. I still would have been in Heidelberg, Germany, and I would have seen that magazine on the big giant newsstand at right next to the PX. There was a big bookstore, and they had a big magazine rack. Comic books were not on spinner racks. They were all out like magazines. It was a very spectacular display. Here's issue 17. This is June of 72, so that's about the time we got on a plane and left Germany, went across the ocean to Hampton, Virginia, because my dad had a new assignment at the Fort Monroe, Virginia. Vampirella, September of 72. This is like right as I'm starting my second grade year. Magnificent cover. That's, of course, the famous poster that was I used to have an original of it, but it got shredded by Pete the Cat because it was on the back of a door of a bedroom back in Texas, and Pete the Cat accidentally got into that bedroom and closed the door, and he was trapped. So he started clawing at the door, and he clawed that poster down, and I tried to put it back together. I still have it, but I have a reproduction of it that has the word Vampirella at the top, but that's not the original printing. And here they are selling that poster. See, what did it cost back then? Let me see. It's with post. It was $2.98 plus 50 cents. So a total of $3.48. It's a lot more than that now. But Jose Gonzalez was, there's a documentary on YouTube that goes on for 6 hours in many parts about Jose Gonzalez. The guy was going to do a documentary on Jose Gonzalez, the artist in Spain. He was going to interview him, and then right before he could interview him, he died. And so it's all about Jose Gonzalez. It starts with a depressing premise, and it gets into his life and his sad life, and this artist that created this wonderful art. And it's really fascinating. They talked to a lot of people that knew him. You know, Warren was getting a lot of artists cheap from Europe and then later from the Philippines. And but Jose Pepe Gonzalez was gay, and he was obsessed with Marilyn Monroe, and he drew the female form so lovingly because he studied it with such love and admiration that he drew beautiful women better than heterosexual artists, because he noticed details that I guess most heterosexuals don't notice, because he was so obsessed with, mainly with Marilyn Monroe. But he had an actual model that posed for him. I think she's still alive. October 72. Like posed for that poster and everything. December 72. But you see, because it was drawn by a Spanish artist, Vampirella is not pale skin. She should never be drawn with pale skin. She's olive skin. She looks like she's from Spain because she was drawn by Spanish. Not well. He wasn't the only artist. This was. This was going to be the cover of Vampirella #1, but they went with the Frank Frazetta cover. This is the 1972 annual, but that was gonna be the original cover. And we can only do what we can do. Anyway, a little bit of trivia there. Okay, we're totally into my second grade year, because I remember seeing this cover and obsessing on it. Issue 22, March 73. Yeah, I'm in second grade. And as a second grade boy, look at this cover, man. It's like a marital spat between Dracula and one of his brides or something. It's like, well, you don't normally see two vampires fighting, but maybe he didn't do dishes or something, and then you got these priests coming in to take care of them. But it looks like they're going to take each other out, so they don't even need to come in. Okay, here comes the big one. No, it's not. It's coming up, though. Issue 25, June 73. When I saw the color comics at the top, I thought it was going to be that issue, but it isn't. Maybe it's the next one. This is the one. Is this my... In terms of what's coming together, that suggests that we're going to be in the end time. This is not my childhood copy. I think I gave that away because I got this one as an upgrade. But you should never give away your childhood copy just because it's not as good a condition, because that was the one you handled as a little kid. But this one doesn't have a big giant image of a scantily clad girl painting on the cover, so it just little comic panels. And so my mom let me buy this one. This is the first Vampirella I ever bought. But if you look at the detail of the comic panels, well, this one in particular is not good. I mean, it's well drawn, but it's if my mom had actually analyzed that panel, the guy with the knife. And then there's some stuff on the back that's not that appropriate, but this is for a little while Warren was doing this advertising like this, and but there was creepy, EC style horror stories, and then this eerie at this point had been like creepy, but they were starting to change it where they were having characters, like story. It was like they turned it into like a monster-oriented Tales of Suspense or Tales to Astonish, where there were continuing characters that were macabre type characters. Like Coffin was a Western hero, and then they had the werewolf was a continuing character, kind of like Marvel did Werewolf by Night, and they had a mummy series, and then they did they had Drax the Destroyer that was kind of a Conan character, but the best character came a little later in the 70s called the Rook, and he was a time traveler, and he was a descendant of the time traveler from H.G. Wells' Time Machine. This H.G. Wells in the book never gave a name to the character that was going through time and fighting the Morlocks and everything. He was just called the time traveler. So the Rook is his direct descendant, and he has this time machine that looks like a chess piece, a Rook chess piece, and he has a robot that wears a cowboy hat that's that goes with him on his adventures.
One of my friends,
Like C-3PO, but cooler, not a sissy like C-3PO. And then he had he goes to the Battle of the Alamo where one of his ancestors dies. This older guy, and he says, "Get in my ship. You know, you're gonna." I don't remember. I have to go back and reread it. You know, basically he's gonna die. So if he takes him away from the battle, it's not going to change the timeline because he's supposed to die. He's not supposed to continue on. But if you get in my time machine, you can continue to live. We'll go all over the place, and they'll just think you died, and maybe they took off your body or something, buried it somewhere. So he's got his ancestor, who's like this old guy with white beard, and so it's cool. It would make the greatest movie. Well, I don't know. Hollywood can't do anything right, so maybe it wouldn't. But they brought that Rook character back later in the '90s. Some other company did.
Right? And he's talking about
25. Oh, it looks like I'm missing issue 27. Starting to lose my voice. There's 28. See, on the back, they're still doing this kind of advertising where they're showing what's going on in Creepy. They're showing an Eerie. They've got the mummy character, and they've got this African American character. Now they've got the Wolfman werewolf character. They've got Coffin, and they've got Marvin, the damned dead thing, and he was like a Swamp Thing, Man Thing kind of guy. You know, there's the Heath, that was original swamp creature in comics going back to the 50s, maybe the late 40s. But there were so many swamp creatures, and Swamp Thing, Man Thing came along about the same time from DC and Marvel, and then Warren had Marvin. Nobody remembers him. He was an Eerie. And there were a bunch of others. I just can't think of them right now. There was a Swamp Thing called, what was even called, the Glop or the Glob in the Hulk comic. 29. So did I write that down on the lid as a Vampirella I'm missing? It says I'm missing 16, 18, 23, 24, 27. I'm missing quite a few. Well, it's Christmas. Maybe I should show that to my wife so she can order some stuff from online.
And also what's going to happen in the end time. It is one of those sort of
the back is
secrets
that stuff is they're advertising all the artists that they have. Only the masters of fantasy appear in Warren magazines, and they list all their great artists.
And you will be surprised.
Richard Corbin was. Richard Corbin is one of those guys that I just can't. There's just no way to tell you how much his artwork changed my life. This is issue 20. Did I just show you this? I don't remember. Man, I can't show you I can't remember what I showed you 30 seconds ago. 30. I showed you 30, right? Yeah, I did.
I don't look at that as
31, Luana. Now, there was a Luana, it's weird, there was a Luana movie, and then she was a character in Vampirella, and I think that she was a character in Vampirella to promote the movie, and Frazetta did that painting for the movie poster art. I researched that once, and now I've completely forgotten. But it is not, the movie was not based on a character from Warren. It was the other way around, like a female Tarzan. 32.
And they are wait to come back on the earth again.
Oh, another copy of 32. There's going to probably be duplication.
You have
33.
been on Deception Detection. You're still the reigning, returning guest that we've had on more than anyone else.
34.
And I know that Chad and I are already looking forward to the next time.
And by this point, they'd started reprinting The Spirit. That was when Warren did The Spirit. That was my favorite reprinting of the old Spirit stories. 35.
The first place to either contact
They're advertising their comic magazines here. Creepy. That's Richard Corbin art there. And Eerie. Oh, that was another character that appeared. And what was that guy's name? I've forgotten. Spirit Vampirella.
You can also follow me on
They were really cooking there right about 1974. Vampirella 36. So if you get an issue of Vampirus Carmilla, it's going to look a lot like the Vampirella from this time period. This seems to be right about when they're trying to recreate the look of... this is 37 from October of 1974. By this point, I was living in San Antonio, Texas. And the stores that my mom went to did not have Warren magazines. I know they were distributed in San Antonio. One time I had a tooth pulled or something, and I had to be put under and gas, and then I woke up, and then my mom and dad took me to a downtown bookstore where I got an issue of Famous Monsters. So, but other than that, I know that there was a friend of mine that had some issues of Famous Monsters I traded him for. He was buying them in San Antonio. I just don't know where the stores were. There was a little drive-in grocery store, convenience store called Lone Star Drive-In, and they would get The Spirit. And I bought it from the first few issues of The Spirit from them. But I just never... Those 2 years, 3rd and 4th grade, I didn't see these magazines consistently on newsstands. I saw an issue of Eerie once, like in a grocery store, but it just, the part of San Antonio I lived in, the stores that my mom chose to go to, the Handy Andy's, the Piggly Wigglies, the HEBs, the whatever, just didn't stock these magazines. 41. But the PX... when we went to the PX on the Army base there, Fort Sam Houston, I think I didn't see Warren, but I would see those skywalled horror mood publications like Psycho and Scream. Those I would see. Those seem to be in the San Antonio Base Exchange, but not the Warren. Here's issue 42, not bagged and boarded. Oh, they put out this magazine called Comics International on slick paper. Well, nicer paper, and it had a color. It's all color, and this is an all Richard Corbin issue. That was, I think, something, I don't know if that was on newsstands or if you had to mail order it. Comics International. That was some experiment. This is when I actually read the whole book of Young Frankenstein. This is whole page t-shirt, poster, yeah. I was really into Young Frankenstein there in 4th grade. Look at this great art. Is this show over? I might do a second episode, man. What am I over? I'm over an hour, aren't I? Yeah, that one needed to be bagged and boarded. Here's 43. Let's go up to issue 50 and stop. 44. 45. Here they're reusing that poster art. Oh, come on, man. You're going to get me in trouble with the copyright police for this terrible... Imagine I got in trouble for a song that terrible. Copyright claim on one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life, because there's the people in this... Come on, get better taste in music. 46 is an origin. They retell her origin. Why is that not bad? 47. There's a poster for the Famous Monsters convention. Oh, it ended. I'm recording these Gary Wayne shows. Okay, how much do I have left on this disc? I have an hour and 2 minutes left. Okay. I don't know. I don't normally do these shows before work. I'm just doing it because I'm not going to have much time over Thanksgiving. because I'm going to be hanging out with the wife. The movie you've been waiting for. Look at this, how exciting this was. Vampirella, a major motion picture now in production from Hammer Films, coming your way in 1976. It never happened, but that's exciting. And this is the January 76 issue. So they thought they were going to have it done and out that year. I believe that Carolyn Monroe was going to play the part. I'm not sure. And then later there was talk with Barbara Leigh, or maybe it's Barbara Lee, Leigh. Well, that's spelled like the way Vivian Lee spells her name. So maybe it's Lee. Anyway, she was, they'd have photo covers later in the 70s, the very late 70s, that I think that actress might have been involved in another project to do a Vampirella movie that never happened. Ultimately, there was a Vampirella movie made for like HBO. It was terrible. They got a girl that was not very appealing. I mean, I guess she was pretty, but she just didn't look the part. She had no personality, and they changed her costume and made it kind of horrible. And I believe Roger Daltrey was in it playing Dracula, who was a nemesis that Vampirella did fight in the comic here, because Dracula was from her home planet of Dracula, and they explain. There's 54, and there's some issues of Comics International. I said I'd stop at 50. But anyway, the Vampirella movie, you can get it on disc. It's not worth watching. It's just depressing. Like most of the movies based on comic books back then were all depressing. You know, the 1978 Spider-Man, the 78, 79 Captain America TV movies, they're always depressing. These shirts, I remember seeing them for sale at Montgomery Ward. You know, that's a character from Erie, that character Coffin, but they got the Famous Monsters logo, and everything's kind of, but they were, you know, images from Warren magazines. That was that 1970s, I don't know if it was polyester, but it was like a horrible material. I never had one of the shirts, but I remember feeling the material in the store, knowing that they would be very uncomfortable to wear. Some 1970s material that makes you instantly smell horrible. Okay, I better figure out what's going on here. An hour and 7 minutes. I'm probably still uploading last night's episode. Okay, it's almost 7. I better just hit the road. Let me find another Gary Wayne show that will finish up this disc. That's shorter. The People Before Adam and Eve. Let's see. He never has a show that's, well, that one's an hour and 15 minutes. How much time do I have left on this disc again? Hour and 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm still sick. Oh, that one's an hour and 3 minutes. That's perfect. Gary Wayne, War for the Soul of Mankind. I'll put that on. I just love to record these great shows, because I figure YouTube won't be there forever. It'll disappear, and then I'll regret not preserving all of this stuff. You know, I'm just kind of this archivist at heart, but that's a nice way of explaining obsessive compulsive insanity. Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, if you want to see more Vampirella, I'll be doing that later.
It was such an eye-opener for me.
Okay. Just see more dog food out.
Connections because he knows prehistory, history, and hidden history so well that he can draw the connections that most people couldn't.
Okay, it's right at 7.
Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Gary Wayne.
Well, thank you for inviting me to the show, and thank you for the very kind and generous words on the introduction. So I noticed, or I underlined in sort of my mind one thing that you said there, which wasn't the original goal to do when I set out, but as I expanded in the writing of the book, I learned so much as I started to do more research into, adding in parallel.
Yeah, feel free to put comments down below. Not many people do that.
Religions, and when I started to get into
It's nice to hear, what people think of the show, and if you could subscribe, if you're a new viewer, that'd be fantastic. If I could, I'd like to have over 1,000 subscribers.
That started me down rabbit holes that
I seem to be throttled, it's like I gain 3 subscribers, then I lose 4, or it's like there always seems to be, seems weird. Okay, well, trying to button with one hand. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be seeing you guys later.